know why somebody who's already gone to the next level is doing another company. And also, I had the good fortune of, when I met 2 to 3 years ago, I don't know if he remembers, he was also very interested in ophthalmology. I think his wife is an ophthalmologist. So the purpose of this session was, just to talk about his journey, get some words, get his, genuine experience, the ups and lows. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're joining in from Singapore, so there's a time difference and your busy schedule, and you've accepted very, very quickly. Thank you once again. Really, really grateful. So awesome. So I want to first question, rewind back to how was your engineering days? You were at SVC, and talk us about that. We'll go from that till where you are right now.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Jay. How are you? First, I want to ask, after 2 years, pandemic, all these things, how are you?
Good, sir. Thank you. So we've been at the time when I had met you, I was doing a healthcare company. It was called Sigmoid. We were trying to detect morbidities using computer vision with in ophthalmology workflows, trying to improve the turnaround time for the doctors. And that's when I had come to pitch to you and all that. It's been good. So since then, I've pivoted to running this education technology, Pixeltests, as you probably have come across us. It's primarily AI and blockchain / Web3 people. So luckily, this is taking off. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Yeah. Don't mind my awkward position. I have my leg sprained, so I'm resting my leg. Oh. So it's actually I'm actually do like a half squat kind of a thing, right? So
no, you look perfect.
Yeah. So yeah. Back to my engineering days, right? So I studied in a college called NBKR. It's like a second oldest private college in Andhra, in United Andhra Pradesh. It's not that I secured a really good rank. I got it. At that point of time, this is 2002, where the computers are really down. So it's not filled up, right? For my rank, I just got it for free, right? So because it's all left out. And my sister, who finished the BTech by then, she said, okay, I mean, this is the easiest course to take up, which is like a CSE. So I took up CSE at that point of time, right? So really, there is no inclination that I will become a tech founder, all these things at that point of time. It's actually okay, this is the best case scenario happened to me at that point of time, right? So, I mean, actually, that's a good decision if you rewind back. It's like Sippy taking Cholet. There is no reason, right? So it just happened. For me, the CSE happened for me at the college.
Excellent. So there's good amount of some fortuitousness, serendipity. So you got into computer science. And okay, so rank, I think all of us have gone through the rank rat race. But what was your mindset like? Did you always want to start up, or were you a regular student? Were you a good student? And were you very active in some of maybe the leadership roles, etc.? Rewind back to that time, and if you can share some thoughts, sir, yeah, that would be great.
So I'll give you a interesting tidbit, right? So in SVU has only 2 private colleges in the whole Andhra. One is NBKR and the other one is KSRM. So I studied in NBKR, right? So they had this rule you need to have 66% of attendance to go to next year, right? And there is no escape. If you don't do it, you can't go pay something and you go to the next year. Actually, you need to study that year again, right? So where if you see any year in that BTech, you see at least 3 to 4 of your seniors studying with you because they couldn't able to pass the 62.8%, right? So exactly that, right? On the first year, on the 4 years, actually, I kind of bordered it. I was 65, those kind, right? The first year is too bad. I was very near to it. But what happened is the first year I generated interest in programming. If you see in BTech, there's only few people you can actually code, right? So can code, execute, etc. I topped in my university in computer science because somehow I liked it. It's not that I'm like tuned towards it, etc., etc. The second year, I'm fortunate to have one professor, right? So because I bunk classes so regularly, so he stood me up. He thought I did really bad in my exams, right? So he asked like how much you got in computer science in the first year. I told him the marks. Then he was shocked that, okay, I was actually top at the university level, right? Then he privately pinged me and he spoke to me. He's my data structures professor, right? So he said, why you are wasting it? I mean, it's actually you took a nice branch. Why don't you do this thing? I saw your programming. It was pretty clean and you can able to execute it, etc. Right? That kind of changed me where that I can use the programming in even in my real world use cases, right? So 2004 is when my sister got married, right? I actually had the fortune of having the computer those days at my home. For my parents, I actually did a small program where they can able to record like each invitation they give, right? So they don't actually miss it. I mean, I used the simple data structures and the file to actually record it, right? I really liked it. Then moving forward, right? So what I did is on the third year, it's like for the others to execute, right? So I used to actually use a simple networking to pass through my file to others to actually in the lab, right? So where they need to execute, right? So that when they open, they already has the code and they just need to execute it so that they are passed, right? So I used to do that. And on the final year, that is where either you need to get your job in campus. I'm not from like a tier 1 kind of a university, right? So where I need to get my job myself, right? So what I did is I requested one of my senior who used to work in Zoho at that point of time, AdventNet can come and come to the campus. Because at the point of time, we are in a village, I mean, it's a tier 2 college, right? The companies won't come. So you need to go and ask them to do it, right? So AdventNet from the start, it doesn't give much importance to which building you are in, or are you having like a class A office and all, right? Then what I did is when I went, it is actually on the backside of an clothes warehouse in Velachery. I'm not sure whether you know the place in Chennai, right? So you won't even expect that's an IT company, right? So it is so remote. I was thinking, I mean, I was seeing this TCS, Infosys and all, dude, which company we are going to, right? I went on a Saturday, right? So I didn't know the Saturdays are holidays for an IT company. I actually thought it just works, right? Nobody was there. So I gave my invitation to the security guard and told him, can you give it to your HR, and came back. Luckily, these guys came for the campus and they conducted the test. Usually TCS, Infosys and all will conduct a test saying that you should be like 75 percentile or 80 percentile, then only you can sit. Right. So, but these guys said, they never said, we don't care whether you have arrears or you completed the BTech, they don't care, right? So they wanted everybody to participate, and then came. Out of our entire class, only 6 members actually got placement, that too only me in Zoho, right? So it is, I mean, it's both, right? Hard work and luck, both needs to happen. It's not, I won't say, okay, only luck happened or only hard work happened. It's both happened, and I got into Zoho, right? So very interesting turns how my 4 years of BTech actually happened, right? I need to thank my professor who said, okay, you go, you do your shit, right? So where you need to learn these 4 years, only these 4 years. And I need to thank my senior actually who was open to invite Zoho to campus, and that security guard who gave that invitation letter to the HR, right? So all three things happened and they came, right? So
wow, that is one of the most fantastic things I've ever heard. And also, your as you've scaled up, you remembering with genuine honesty and gratitude, including the security guard, is next level. And folks, whoever's watching on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, remember that Zoho was still AdventNet in 2006 or 4. Once Kiran, you graduated from SVU, right? And yes, I do know Chennai. I did go to college there. Unlike you in IIT Madras, I was not interested in any subject. I was only interested in all the extracurriculars. So I didn't even have one subject I liked. I went to mechanical engineering, which was very, I would say, like, I was completely disinterested. Like, I couldn't see the CNC machines, lathe machines, those overalls, workshop clothes. But remarkable journey. And also, it's fantastic to see that you hustled. Like, I think the ingredients of hustle already started, right? How you were trying to hustle, helping your classmates at that. And second, how you went all the way, didn't judge the building at Velicherry by the TCS, CTSs, and went and did that. That action paid off. And you were one of the only people, granted that you were very passionate about algorithms, in the core subject. Yeah. Despite you attending not attending classes. So folks, the secret of making a company, public is bunk classes, but be good in that subject. I'm joking. Don't take these things to heart. But anyways, remarkable trajectory. Talk us a little bit about Zoho in that days. Like, Zoho is also, remarkably big, etc. Extremely charismatic leader. I think your entire mafia, Freshworks mafia, you've been entrenched in the beginning stages. So you have access to them. You've seen the lows, the genuine lows. What, when you entered as a fresher, what were your thought process? You obviously didn't know that, the dots much later, but what was the culture there? How did you fit in? What did you feel? Can you elaborate on those bits a little, please?
Yeah, sure. So when we just joined, right, it's usually all your interviews will be like on your subject, what you learned, right? So write a Java program, write a C program, and asked about what is this array list and all. But remarkably for Zoho, right? So if you're a fresher, your 70 to 80% of your interview is on IQ, right? So they will give you very generic math problems and they will ask you to solve, right? That is a good thing, right? So you'll be surprised when they ask. You think that maybe they don't want to recruit you, right? So you think, okay, this is like a logic, right? So why they're asking logic, not asking you to write code, right? As a fresher, because always you will actually think of theory and then put that theory and you keep telling the theory in the interviews, right? So that's a very good thing. And the another fortunate thing happened to me is when I got recruited, my manager is Zoho's co-founder. A lot of people don't know him. He's Shailesh. Shailesh is their CTO. I think so. That is what his official title is, but he's one of the co-founders. Luckily, he is my manager, right? So he interviewed me. He actually was my manager. On the first day, they will actually give you the laptop, right? So they will give you the laptop where you can take home, right? So where in 2006, when all your friends are in TCS or Infosys or CTS, right? So unless you are in a support, they won't give you the laptop. And the joining date also, it's actually like you will have a formal training and you actually get to the project, all these things, right? But in Zoho, it's like the day 0, you will get to see the code.
Wow.
And you have utmost freedom where you can actually able to play with the code, right? And there is no formal training at all, right? So they say that, okay, you go learn, on the codes. There is no baby steps for you to say, okay, you need to go from point A to point B to point C, and all. And you are expected the pace you learn, right? Let's say if I actually wanted to write code on my first month, you are allowed to do if you write clean code, right? So let's say you want to run after 6 months, even that is okay. For them, it's actually like, that is your pace, right? So you're saying that, okay, I want to learn for 6 months and then go. And how much work you take it, it's not written anywhere. It's like to inherited, right? So it's like how much work you can do depends on how much work you take, right? They treat everybody as adults, right? So they think that, okay, as an adult, I shouldn't actually tell you what to work on, right? So because you have the product, you have the roadmap, and you have your manager or whatever, right? It's a very flat structure. Usually it will be like, you will have, say, 6-member team or something like that. And the same guy will act as your engineering manager, architect, as well as, and sometimes he will be a product manager also, all the three combined, right? So he reviews your code, and he takes care of your career, and also he takes care of the product, right? And one interesting question in the interview, apart from the IQ, right? They asked in terms of what Advent does, right? So their expectation is, luckily I did, right? So I went to the Advent website and saw their products, what exactly they do, right? So because I wanted to know thing, that is their expectation, which means that, did you do the homework before you are actually coming to the place, right? And also they will ask you, even if you are on the first year, to participate in the support calls. So they think everything actually flows through from the customer to the product to the engineering, not the other way around, right? So usually how it happens is, okay, you build the product and you try to sell it and then look after the engineering, but this is always the other way around. So Sridhar has always this philosophy of, there is business, so we are building a product for it. Because there is a product, you're doing engineering for it, right? So always the flow is like that. Somehow that got ingrained so early to me. Even now I follow the same, right? I see, okay, there is a business, so I actually we are building a product for it, so that I'm doing engineering for the product, right? Not because I'm a great engineer, I will actually do the best of the best to deliver awesomeness, right? So it's always on the reverse, right? I mean, because I came from an tier 2 city as well as a college. The funny thing, the first thing just they did is, okay, they filled up the details so that I will get the bank details, right? Then they said, okay, we'll take a break. You can go to the restroom. Right? I thought restroom is a guest place where you can relax.
That's true.
Right? So when I went, oh, this is the restroom. Everybody say go there, right? We open the door. that is not right. So I was so that naive, right? So when you are that naive, and thankfully the company is also so welcoming, I can able to ask her to anything on the first year, right? I'm able to code, push things and all. I was so happy because you push and there will be like hundreds of these customers using your feature. That, I mean, in fact, when I worked in the managed engine division, which is an installable, right? You can't make mistakes, right? Because if you make a mistake, you need to release a service pack and they need to install it. It's like pain, full pain, right? So you should, I mean, my manager should, you need to tell him, even if you put an if case, he's saying that there it will spend 1 millisecond, right? So he won't allow you to put that if case at all unless there is a reason, right? So this he's expecting from a graduate, just graduated and started writing code, right? So I mean, very fortunate events. And Zoho is like, I mean, if you want to learn 0 to 1, I don't see there is any best place in the world apart from Zoho, right? With my experience, maybe now Freshworks is one of it, but when I am out, when I compare with my peers or my friends and all, Zoho is the best thing happened.
Wow, I've never heard somebody who's come out doing a competing business, but genuinely, shower systematic like appreciation, praise, and step-by-step gratitude. Excellent. So I just want to just turn the tide a little bit in terms of question. You've been, by your own admission, fortunate to be part of like 9-figure companies. Does it really matter if you're tier 2, tier 3 college student or a grad versus like a tier 1 or Ivy League, etc.? Does it matter in terms of coding, leadership, management? What are your experiences you have seen, managing people?
Yeah. In fact, I don't enjoy managing people. Right. So I enjoy managing the architecture, etc.
Yeah.
But I will tell you the difference, right? The stark difference. One is if you're coming from a tier 2 college, you're not afraid to do any silly things because your expectation is so low. You can actually do anything, right? Everything, right? In fact, after I started Freshworks, right? So at that point of time, Freshdesk, IIT Kharagpur invited me to give a talk, right? Because you have this in your +1, +2, we call it as intermediate first year, second year when I studied in a state board. Your parents always push you to take IIT, right? I'm not a great academic student. I never actually passed an public exam in first attempt in my life.
Whoa.
Right?
Whoa. Really? Wow.
Yeah. Only the BTech it changed, but until BTech I haven't, right? So only in the BTech I never failed. Actually, I got like good grades and all. I actually came out like, the university 4th or 5th. Something like that. I was like a good student in terms of academics also, university, right? So just to prove my mother that actually I haven't studied IIT, but I'm actually going to give a talk in IIT Kharagpur, right? So I actually went. After the talk, one guy came to me and asked, so Kiran, I am from BHU. It seems like in the ranking of IIT, BHU actually falls low, right? So he said, I'm from BHU. Can somebody will fund me because I'm from BHU, right? I told him until I think so, employee number 70 or something, we didn't had IITs, right? We had IITs because we acquired a company where it has an IIT, so IIT came inside Freshworks, right? Until that, we didn't go, right? So I told him, he was so surprised. Oh, you're not from an IIT, right? So, oh no, I don't know whether he felt bad that, okay, a non-IIT is actually giving a speech in an IIT, but yeah. But coming back to your core question, right? Whether it makes really a difference. Let's say if you start a company, right? Let's say when we started, so how people will trust you and join you. Let's say after the first success, right now, let's say if I announce that I'm starting, there will be a lot of people who want to join me. But at a Freshdesk days, nobody will join me, right? Because it will be either my alumni or people who work with me, either Zoho or SVU, right? So only these two. I think so that actually makes a difference if you are from an IIT, right? It's like on the first thing, you can able to get your peer group, as well as obviously you will have some VC funds which has been started by your alumni, right? That is an access you're not going to get. But here it is going to just delay a bit, but it will come over the course, right? But best thing is, yeah, you can do a lot of silly things, right? So lots and lots of silly things.
Excellent. Wow. So going back to your trajectory again. So then you were at Zoho, and seems like your boss. Sorry. Yeah. So one of the co-founders, he was helping you out a lot. The culture was set. You learned fantastic things. It was an open, transparent culture, and they were encouraging people. There was a trifecta in terms of, you could do product, you could pick up the inventory of work and fly with it on roadmap. These are extremely empowering and to make you very, very independent. Okay. Now, and then you spent a good 4-5 years, right, there. So talk us a little bit about that transition point, when you jumped the ship, and then, the 4 or 5 of you are, picked up your bags and said, okay, let's start Freshdesk at that time. So can you talk us a little bit about that era? I'm presuming it's 2009, 10, or 11.
2010. Interestingly, what happened is the first 6 of us, I mean, the founding team, haven't actually left Zoho at the same time, right? So for me personally, what happened is in 2010, Zoho has this concept of giving you the bonus every year, right? So they will not actually specify anywhere in your offer letter, but if they get profit, they will actually share that profit across, right? When it happened in 2010, what I did is I did my first international trip to Singapore, where my friend used to work for TCS in on-site, so that the room is free, right? So I can actually bunk with him. So I used that. At that point of time, the Tiger Airways used to cost only like $5,000, right? So and 10,000 the whole ticket. So I took that ticket and came. Then I saw it's like the roads are super clean. You see a contrast difference between India and Singapore and all, right? Then I decided, I want to go to on-site. Obviously, Zohos don't send you to on-site. So then I started looking for services company to get an offer. Only Accenture was able to offer what I used to get in Zoho. The other guys and all said, okay, you are level 2, only you will get this, etc. And also I moved to Bangalore because my friend said Bangalore will have more on-site opportunities, right? I joined. Maybe within a week, I know that I'm not fit for this, right? So there is like very contrast. I mean, nothing wrong with Accenture, but the way services company work is like a contrast picture to how a product company works. That too, you are coming from Zoho, where you are allowed to come in shorts, right? Nobody will question you. It's like what you're wearing, when you're coming, when you're going. In Accenture, your project manager will come and tell you to shave your beard, right? So, which is like a very weird thing for me to happen, right? So, because obviously for him, the clients will come, they see that somebody is like looking like a rogue, they don't want them, right? So, because I'm staying in Bangalore, I started looking for offers, right? So what I do is every weekend get an offer, get a competing offer. So at a 4 years of experience, I think the highest I got in 2010 is like 14.5 lakhs, right? So a PwC, they got it, right? At the same time, Girish announced that I'm going out of Zoho in Facebook. Now nobody's using Facebook, right? So in Facebook, he did it. I worked under Girish only for 3 months before I quit Zoho, right? So until then, I was with Manage Engine. Then I went to my manager and said, these installables are getting me bored. So I want to work on Zoho. Zoho is that online suite we used to have. Girish used to head Manage Engine. Luckily at that time, he said, okay, I wanted to experiment with one SaaS product. So he took one SaaS product and he assembled the team. And I am part of the team. There's only 3 people in the team. I was part of the team. At that point of time, I released the first iPhone app from Zoho, Zoho Notebook, the private release. And Chrome actually released in 2010 with plugins. At that point of time, plugins are not there, right? So I released the plugin, these 2 things, right? Girish is obviously impressed. But after 3 months, I said, I am quitting. I want to go to on-site, and I left. When he made that Facebook post, I was jokingly told him that, okay, do you have a developer job to this, right? Then he called up and said, are you really serious? I mean, this is what he said, okay, I can't give you salary. I can give you stocks. But in 2010, I don't know anything of it. But still, I want to do that adventure. At that point of time, I need to get married to my now wife, then girlfriend. So I asked her, can we postpone our marriage 1 more year? Then I told her I'm getting like a 0 salary. Is it okay, etc. Then my wife actually just finished her housey. She said, okay, if I go join in Kerala, I will get 1 lakh rupees as salary. I can feed you. So even if you get 0, that's okay, right? So only with that kind of an assurance, I took the offer of Freshdesk, right?
Wow.
Because I'm going from like Accenture, which is paying like really high, to zero, to Chennai, then to Kilkatlai. It's like a contrast change, right? So that's how it happened. The same thing, more or less, there are like all the 6 of us, apart from Girish and Shan, the other 4, that's how it happened. We actually went to different, that too in 2010. And we all rejoined within like, I joined within like 3 months. So I quit like August and came back and joined in December. December 2010 is when I joined Freshdesk.
Wow. Honestly, I did not even see within your LinkedIn you had between, Zoho and Freshworks, the Accenture. It completely missed it. But that is how, just the prepared mind meets luck, and kudos to, the effort. If you hadn't done the first like app within Zoho, could be the iPhone piece, you wouldn't have had that familiarity, the chemistry, the seeding of that chemistry with Girish, and maybe his own vision also to kick that off. And kudos to your wife. Like, who says that? I'm going to get a lakh, so you can do whatever you want. So that, we have to be grateful to her forever. And then, you then joining and taking the plunge, because you're not a conventional like entrepreneur in the sense like, oh, from college you've been doing, some successes, many failures, etc. Right? So that is super fantastic, and thank you for doing that. Thanks to the whole of from the whole of India, perhaps, because these are the small things that people think that everything is happening very nicely on top, but excellent. And that must have been a rough phase. And I'm presuming you were unfunded, like the funding hadn't happened.
So we got, Girish actually was working in US and came back.
Okay.
So we got money for exactly 8 months to pay for AWS bill, right? When you say 8 months money and all, don't think in 2022 or 2023 numbers. This is 2010 numbers, right? Where we are not taking salary, etc., right? So within 8 months,
wow,
we need to release the product, and the product needs to earn 10K MRR so that we can pay our own salaries and then again spend it to marketing. So we actually release the product in 3 months and release the GA in another 3 months, right? So when we got Axel funding, we already had GA with more than 10 customers, right? So that is where we are when we got the funding. So what we decided is, when we took this thing, right? Girish told this, right? So we won't go after funding, but if VCs comes to us at a right valuation, we will not say no, right? So Zoho philosophy is like, we will say no to VC at any point, right? So that's their stance. But we actually took a stance like, okay, if that money actually can fuel our growth and that comes to a good valuation, and we don't go back of it, we are good, right? Luckily, for the entire 12 years, we never went to an VC. Only VCs came to us, and we have the fortune of selecting which VC we want, even at the 0th year.
Wow. And can you tell, so audience, MRR means monthly recurring revenue rate. So 10,000 at that time, let's assume, for a dollar was at maybe 50 rupees. So that's 5 lakh per month was your target, the 6 of them. Can you probably share some numbers when you left? What was the MRR in 2022 or 20?
Oh, it was public, right? At that point of time, when I left, this is August 2022, right? So we are actually generating around 400 million ARR at that point of time, right? Close to $500 million.
Wow. So 10K to $500 million. And that's how they started. So the quick points there is, whatever you guys are feeling right now, just drop the top 2 learnings you had from that. Top 2 learnings. And Kiran, the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of people always look at the Eiffel Tower. They forget that it was made with nuts and bolts. And the way you've, gone through building every brick, every nut, every bolt, the grease and everything. Brilliant. Excellent. So now you have a specific target. You have 8 months in survival mode, girlfriend, doing also her grind in ophthalmology, presumably residency in Kerala. So you have all the time, you're grinding it out. Talk us a little bit about the first 2 years. What sacrifices did you make? How did it go? What are the mistakes, more importantly, that you did, for the benefit of the audience here?
Okay, so in anybody's startup life, right, whether you're successful or unsuccessful, I don't see there won't be any mistake in the decisions, because we always take the decisions with the information what we have at that point of time. Right? There is no going back or diverting, right? So it's always, okay, these are the things I want to do this, I want to actually execute this. And also, even though we don't have these problems of having an empty bank account or VCs not funding us and all, but the scaling is always tough, right? So a 0 to 1 million is a different challenge, 1 to 10 and 10 to 100 and 100 to 200, right? So for every time you need to reinvent your go-to-market, your engineering, your product architecture, everything, right? So because we can't actually put in, let's say if we 6 of us used to sit in one cubicle and we used to code, right? So, and Girish used to product manage. We can't implement the same thing even when we are at 100 million, right? Because at that point of time, we had distributed teams. We have people in US, Europe, and also how they coordinate, and multiple different teams, even internally at thing. In fact, I don't know whether you visited our office in Chennai. So we started with 1,000 square feet, right? When I came out, we own around 600,000 square feet in the same building. So, which is like, we went with this small room, which is being constructed with a gypsum wall to 4 different floors, right? And but even we are so particular in terms of our work environment and the culture. So we are tedious in terms of even selecting our carpet, right? So it's like in our carpet also, it's been used by only 2 orgs inside India, right? So we need to import and do it, right? So that's how, even in the first 2 years, I mean, personally, what happened for me is I shifted to Bangalore. All my friends actually shifted to Bangalore, right? So they didn't come back because don't want to join at 0, right? So, and apart from me, every other guys in the founding team are staying with their families, right? So you get your home food, all these things. I used to live in this Kilkatle because I always try to live very next to the office. So I don't want to spend time traveling, right? That I don't like it. So I used to live in Kilkatle. There's only one option for you to eat is A to B, right? So Adyar Anand Bhavan is the only option. So you have your breakfast, lunch, dinner, all the 3 daily there, right? So you won't have anything else, right? Then another thing happened on the engineering, right? The SaaS is pretty new, right? So there are no, your peer where you can able to validate what you are discussing, right? So Girish once said, it's actually like, I want an European data center, right? This is the first time I'm doing SaaS, and first time I'm doing ops, and first time I'm writing code in Ruby on Rails. So all these things are first time, right? And he said, I want the same URL. I don't want eu.freshdesk.com. I want .freshdesk.com, directly go to this, right? Then I designed something called a pod architecture. I think so we went for the patent and all, but we had this pod architecture and all. Then at a very late stage, right, I came to know that, so Salesforce did it like 20 years back, the same architecture, because you don't know that you don't have any peers where you can able to validate it. You need to reinvent everything for the first time, right? Even the SaaS at scale or the SaaS Boomi started only because of that. We just wanted to open our playbooks, right? Because we don't want any secret sauce or whatever, right? So I went through a lot of struggle in terms of doing for the first time. Why anybody wanted to do, right? We can just tell, okay, what I did, so that you can just copy, right? So if you can able to execute it, you can able to execute it, right? So, I mean, personal struggle was that food. The professional struggle was everything. You don't need the validation. You don't know whether you are right or wrong, but the product is moving so fast. Girish always picks ourselves to the world-class products. He doesn't want to compare anybody local. So he says that, okay, if Twilio did $1 million in 18 months, I also want to do $1 million in 18 months, he says. If Twilio has 99.99 availability, or HubSpot has this, I also want the same kind of an availability, right? He doesn't say, okay, locally, maybe there is another guy who's in Chennai who does this, maybe we'll just use that. He doesn't bend that. He just says, okay, I just want end-to-end world class.
That is some ambition and drive to excellence, like perfection. Wow. Yeah, I'm really surprised that, not surprised, but I'm taken aback that you wrote first principles, ground up the entire code for pod. Even we have, I'm trying to solve it now because we get traffic on Pixeltests from US customers, European customers. But now there are vendors, like you pay them a small SaaS subscription and the URL doesn't change. But that is phenomenal that you've written code ground up. Want to like shift focus a little bit and talk about, so you've seen like, so seems like there were challenges from, food and, all the other materialistic pieces, your personal life also, you sacrifice, and there's so much chaos by your own admission. I want to talk about the money aspect, right? How has money changed you? Like now, you've experienced financial freedom, and you're presumably, you're experimenting a lot. You had shared with, I don't know if you remember, 3 years ago, you were trying to build a hospital. I don't know if, but the philanthropic angle has kicked in. How has money changed you, your thoughts, and why the next, we'll segue that to the next question, which is why the next startup as well.
Okay. So when we started, right, in 2011, Assistly has been bought by Salesforce, right? That is their support cloud. They acquired Assistly for $50 million. When we are in Kilkatle, we all thought, right? So, we can be $50 million worth, right? So we were very happy if we will be that valuable, right? But that changed very fast, right? So in a couple of years, we are in a different trajectory altogether. But on a personal front, right? After a certain X dollars, it doesn't change your lifestyle at all, like until unless you want to actually just buy a dinosaur teeth or something like that for preservation. Nothing changes you, right, on a day-to-day lifestyle. My lifestyle is pretty simple. So I reached the brim very early, right? So where I know this is what I want, right? Mostly after that, my spend is mostly for the moments I wanted to enjoy with my family. It's like maybe a better vacation where I can spend time with them, etc. But apart from that, not an extravaganza, right? In terms of the, which actually gives you like a simple personal security that, yeah, I don't need to work for money, right? So I can work for my passion, but not for money, right? So that I already reached. And in terms of the philanthropy, it's actually two things. I think I discussed with you last time when we met. Two things actually we wanted to consciously put our bets on is education and cataract, right? So the surgeries. All right. So what I do right now is I have like, I don't like giving to like one organization, right? So how it's been sent, and I wanted to be involved a little bit more. So I have 3 to 4 people who actually work in that space where in an ad hoc, each one for 5 to 6 times in a year, they come to me that, okay, I want to pay the fees for this, or this guy doesn't have a laptop, can we supply a laptop? Or they want to go to a professional study, they couldn't able to do, can we able to do? So that is what I support, where it is very, very personal, where it's an individual, I know with whom I'm actually giving, right? So that I do it on the education. And in terms of the cataract, we still need to define what we wanted to achieve. What we do right now is, let's say, if I'm actually spending something on the luxury, I will divide the same amount and I will give it to Shankar Netralaya. So they will perform those many cataract surgeries with that money. Let's say if I wanted to celebrate my baby's birthday, let's say if it costs 5 lakhs, I donate 5 lakhs to them. So that is how I do a simple math saying that, okay, if I wanted to do this, I will spend the same amount. I give it to Shankar Netralaya, so where they can perform these many surgeries. It's not much as for 5 lakhs, I think so. They do around 50 surgeries or something. Yeah. It's very, very nominal. It actually can change a lot of families, right? Yeah. So
yeah,
this is what I do.
Brilliant. No, I did work with LV Prasad closely. Yeah, your numbers are right. I think it's a little lesser as well. Because yes, cataract is a huge problem. It's a very easily solvable problem. Kudos to your effort. More power to you in terms of doing that. And I had one personal question in terms of how do you guys stay humble? I ran into, I met Girish 2016 startup. I don't think he remembers me, but he was so grounded. You were grounded. I met your other partner as well. The humility is there. And I asked this because you guys also invest in startups, and I met so many other startups, right? There's just arrogance out there. It's just a lust for money is there. And you've seen scale, right? You've seen enormous scale. How do you continue to stay grounded? What are the things you do so that even your family is grounded, your team is grounded, and now, your new venture, talk us also, that is the first part of the question. The second part is, what are the things going wrong with the entrepreneurship system in India? You've seen a decade and a half, more than that. So you're seasoned, so you're seeing patterns and you're a techie. Can you talk about these two, please?
Yeah. How and grounded is actually like, I think so. It's mostly on the culture. I would say I learned a lot from Girish, right? Girish is somebody who always wanted to do good, right? So for the other person, right? Even you go argue with him the next day, if you want, invite him for the breakfast, he will come with you, right? So over the years, I molded myself so that I can at least be some percentage of what Girish is, right? I think so that actually kind of right. So he's one of the best reasons, and thankfully I have like few friends who are also that way, right? So they achieved enormously, right? So still very grounded, right? So that takes you to greater heights, right? So the humility, right? So you be humble. There are a lot of things, good things can happen to you, right? So maybe some selfish belief that it can happen to me and all. And also there is a lot of hunger to learn, right? So I always feel there is a lot of things to learn. It's not that, okay, we did Freshworks, we did able to go to IPO, did larger scale in tech. I think so. Still, there is a lot more to learn, right? So you need to keep innovating yourself. Let's say if you think that you reach the point, that's it, right? So you don't grow. So your innovation will just stop there, right? So we can't actually go out of your comfort zone, right? So actually, a lot of people ask me, right? So you had enormous success. A lot of people know you. Why you were even starting, right? Yeah. So what you can get or whatever, right? So that is how it's like. I think so. Your follow-up question is that, right? So why I even started Atomicwork. Two things. We are not aspirational when we started Freshdesk. We didn't see that we will go to IPO, that there is actually companies will live longer, right? But Girish was matured enough. He had his in thought. He used to always say this, right? You need to build a company like BMW, right? Where even after 100 years of the existence, when you go sit on the steering wheel, you get that pump and you want to drive that car, right? So that is how the company should be built, generational. And companies shouldn't be attached to an individual, right? So where the company should go beyond you and you should be happy for it, right? So people won't grow with the pace of the company, right? So you need to invite another leaders in the journey. You need to make it successful, etc. Right? So what happened for me at Freshdesk is that is the first time I'm doing. So I was doing ops for the first time, SaaS for the first time. I'm always afraid that whether this is the last day of the company, right? If the app is down, I thought, oh, now all the customers will actually go away because the app is down for 2 minutes, right? And the company is growing exponential, right? So we grown like 100x, right? So there is nowhere to actually see, oh, I want to enjoy this moment, right? I haven't enjoyed the first 6-7 years. I enjoyed only the benefits of when it became big. When it is small, I didn't enjoy it, building it, right? So that is something I wanted to do, right? Relive the 0 to 1 living with joy is something I missed with Freshworks, which I wanted to do again, right? And the other thing is, maybe for me personally, the vision was actually maybe earn money for the first 2-3 years. After that, maybe it reached, okay, we want to go for an IPO, or you want to actually build product nation from India, all these things, right? For me, I wanted to do it even at the product side, where we can able to move the needle even for our customers at a whole, right? So that's a very ambitious goal, but yeah, I think so. Now I have the liberty to think aspirationally, right? And also, obviously, what good things we did with Freshworks, we wanted to do again. We created like generational wealth to our employees, and we distributed, and we opened up our playbooks to a lot of SaaS companies in India. So that we wanted to do all those good things want to do. But personally, these are the two main things, right? So creating the value to the customer, as well as enjoying even every moment, right? Not at the end, right? So maybe I'm mature now, so I can able to think through, but which I couldn't able to do it when I am like too young.
Wow. Let's take one question from the audience. What are the skills and experiences Kiran sir looks for an ideal candidate to hire, or on a, that's what do you look for now in terms of hiring?
Yeah, see, it all depends on at what age of your startup you're recruiting for. Let's say if I'm recruiting now, more than expertise, will be looking at hustle, right? So where the person can able to multiple things and he can able to do it thorough, right? So where I can't spend more time at this very starting of the company with him, right? I want him to figure out like 0 to 90, only come after 90, right? So these are the two things I'll do it. I won't look at for expertise. It doesn't matter, right? Because he'll be doing everything, right? So from 0 to 100, you'll be doing ops, products, right? Even support, all those things. So, but if I'm at like say at Freshworks kind of a thing, just before I came out, I'm setting up a DB team. I will be looking at somebody who worked on like a huge scale on to a particular flavor and coming. Because I have like hundreds of engineers, right? So I will be looking at experts. So it all depends on at what tier you are looking at.
Yeah. Cool. One last question before we leave, because I know you told me you have a hard stop at 7:30. Is that okay, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Please.
Shyam Sundar, how to maintain a balance when where you operate with the same level of hunger for knowledge, the intent to serve both internal and external customer needs? I'll paste the question on the chat, so maybe you can read that as well.
Okay. I didn't get what is the internal customers, Oh, you mean your stakeholders?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay. So this is how it happens, right? So at least how we look at the product is you already have the demand, and we are actually going into the spaces where you have the demand and there is a large TAM, where the business problem is already been specified. It is well known, right? You are actually taking a modernized look for it, but the problem is already there. People are actually searching for it. You are not creating a new thing, right? Then let's say you are actually starting at your baby year of 0th year, you will have your roadmap for at least 3 years. What I wanted to do for V1, V2, V3, like that, multiple things, right? So let's say if a customer asks, if it falls in my roadmap, I will reprioritize it. Or if it doesn't fall in my roadmap, I am not going to insert it. Because I already know my philosophy of a roadmap, it is okay to lose that customer rather than just branching your product philosophy itself to a new one, right? It will just break your product.
Got it. Excellent. Cool. I think with that, we will come to the end of the session because you definitely told me you have a hard stop and you have to jump to the call. So thank you so much. Thank you also personally, for being such an inspiration, all in terms of, obviously your financial success, but beyond that, the humility, the perseverance. You've taken something from like 10K MRR to 500 million, be with a billion. Guys, and that's Kiran for you. He's also like perseverant and relentless on his next startup. It's called Atomicwork. Do check it out. Please reach out to him. Maybe even email him if you feel there's an opportunity and you can synergize. A big fan of you. And thank you for also inspiring. You've stood a decade and a half, inspiring with the right values, principled leadership, etc. in SaaS and shipping world-class products sitting from India. Kudos to you. And once again, I appreciate your time, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Jay. Thanks for having me. Yeah. All the best to you too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye, man.
Bye.